Secret packs in Master Duel have a certain amount of cards which have a higher chance to be in the packs than the normal Master packs, so it's possible to target specific cards a lot better if you spend your gems on specific secret packs. So in this list we'll be going over some of the best secret packs with the most amount of staple cards, or just to have one very good one that you can save a lot of your UR crafting materials on. And at number 10 we have Nibiru the Primal Being, which can be obtained from the Invaders from Outer Space secret pack. Nibiru is one of the best hand traps in the game, as it allows you to tribute all monsters in the field in order to give your opponent a token after they've performed 5 or more summons during the main phase, and a lot of hand traps are not in secret packs, so you have to craft them specifically, with Nibiru being one of the few that can actually be obtained from a secret pack. But unfortunately, it's from a pack that has a whole bunch of not very competitive cards. Personally, I'm a big fan of worms because I love terrible decks, so I bought a whole bunch of worm packs. And Nibiru was probably the first hand trap that I had 3 copies of because of that. But there isn't really anything else of note from this pack when it comes to generic staples, but a lot of the packs at the higher spots in this list are going to be chock full of really good staples available within their secret packs. And at number 9 we have Harpy's Feather Duster. This card is available in the Glory on Wing secret pack, which is full of a whole bunch of Harpy support cards. Harpy's Feather Duster is a normal spell card that simply allows you to destroy all of your opponent's spell and trap cards without any other kind of fuss or conditions, so it's one of the most played forms of spell and trap card removal in the game, and is limited to 1 copy per deck. Although, just like with Nibiru, this really good staple card is included in a pack that's not super competitive, as the only other thing in this pack is Harpy support. Although Harpies are technically better than worms, and Harpy's Feather Duster is used more than Nibiru because of how many floodgates there are running around in Master Duel, so I just have it at a slightly higher spot than the number 10. And at number 8, we have Forbidden Droplet. This is one of the best going second cards in the game, as it allows you to negate a certain amount of monster effects on the field, equal to the amount of cards you sent to the graveyard in order to activate this card, all while not targeting any of the cards, and making it so your opponent can't respond to Forbidden Droplets to negate it. So, Forbidden Droplet allows you to get by unbeatable boss monsters like Herald of Ultimateness or Borrelsword Savage Dragon, which could normally negate pretty much any other counter to themselves. And this very powerful going second card is located in a secret pack, although there isn't really anything else of note in that pack as well, other than maybe some free-to-play cards like Forbidden Chalice. And at number 7, we have Predaplant Verte Anaconda. This is a Link 2 monster located in the Natural Selection pack, which requires any 2 effect monsters as materials, and allows you to pay 2,000 life points in order to send a fusion or polymerization card from your deck to the graveyard in order to copy that card's effect, just as long as it's a normal or quick play spell card. So once Phoenix Enforcer comes out, it's going to be a must include in pretty much every meta deck, but for the time being, it does still have some decent targets depending on what kind of deck you're playing. And in the same pack, which has Predaplant Verte Anaconda, there's also some really good super polymerization targets in the SR rarity, those being Predaplant Trifioverutum, Predaplant Dragon Stapelia, and Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, in addition to Predaplant Orpheus Scorpio, which is a staple card used in various kinds of fusion combos. So there's lots of good cards you can pull from the pack, in addition to trying to get Predaplant Verte Anaconda. And what do you know? Super Polymerization is also from a secret pack, but not from this one. If it was, it would make this pack one of the better ones, but instead, Super Polymerization is locked in a Heroes Only pack called the Transfigured Heroes, which, unless you want to play a hero deck, doesn't have any other staple cards associated to it. Unlike Natural Selection, which is chock full of a whole bunch of staples, but only Super Polymerization target staples, which aren't as widely used staples as some of the other high spots on this list. And at number 6, we have IP Masquerena, located in the Space-Time Transcendents secret pack. IP Masquerena is a Link 2 monster which has a quick effect to Link summon during your opponent's main phase, which grants the Link monster it brings out a lingering effect, which makes it so it can't be destroyed by card effects. And this effect is incredibly good in a whole bunch of different kinds of decks, in order to bring out Knightmare Unicorn to spin a card during your opponent's turn as a form of disruption, or to bring out Borrelsword Dragon, which can't be destroyed by battle or card effects with IP Masquerena's protection. And the secret pack that IP Masquerena is located in has some other really good staples in it. There's also Psyframe Lord Omega, Time Thief Redoer, and Psyframe Gear Gamma. Psyframe Gear Gamma is only in the super rare quality, but is definitely the second best staple in the pack, as it's a hand trap that can negate and destroy one of your opponent's monster effects, just as long as you have a clear field and play a Garnet in your deck. Psyframe Lord Omega is a really good level 8 synchro monster, which has an effect on field that allows it to rip one of your opponent's cards' hands during their turn, and a graveyard effect that allows it to reset itself and one other card in your graveyard back to the deck, which is sometimes used in Dogmatica decks in order to recur their resources. With Dogmaticas themselves being an engine that's used in a whole bunch of different kinds of decks. And Time Thief Redoer is just a really good generic rank 4 monster that can dodge destruction effects and sometimes spin your opponent's cards if it's able to steal a trap card from your opponent's deck. So, Space-Time Transcendents is full of a lot of staple cards, and is definitely a premium pack to purchase if you're trying to load up on staples, but surprisingly the next 5 spots on this list all have more, or just a wide collection of better staples available to them. And at number 5, we have Crystron Halqifibrax, located in the Those Who Stand Against King secret pack. Crystron Halqifibrax is responsible for a lot of cards being on the ban list in the TCG, is limited to 1 copy in Master Duel, and simply has the effect to special summon a level 3 or lower tutor monster from your deck on its link summon, in addition to some other stuff. So, it's a great extender for a whole bunch of different kinds of combos, and probably one of the better link monsters in the game. In the same secret pack that has Crystron Halqifibrax, there's also a Heavy Metal Foes Electromite, which is a link monster that's currently banned in the TCG for being super good with pendulum decks, but is only limited to 1 copy in Master Duel. This secret pack also has Zodiac Trident, another really good extra deck card, which is also currently banned in the TCG, but limited to 1 copy in Master Duel, and was banned in the TCG mainly because of its interactions with Zeus. And lastly, this pack has Metal Foes Fusion as one of the available cards, which is an SR rarity normal spell card, which has a graveyard effect to return itself to your deck in order to draw 1 card. So, sometimes decks will play copies of Foolish Burial Goods just to send Metal Foes Fusion from the deck to the graveyard, because it essentially turns that card into an upstart goblin in card advantage without playing any other Metal Foes cards. They literally only play it for its graveyard effect alone. So, 3 of the 4 UR cards from this secret pack are really good cards, and this might be one of the highest amount of choice cards in the UR rarity so far, which could be considered somewhat staples, as Heavy Metal Foes Electromite is definitely a staple in any deck that uses pendulum monsters, and Crystron Halqifibrax is just used in a whole bunch of different kinds of decks, even if they don't primarily go into synchro monsters at all. And at number 4, we have number S39 Utopia the Lightning, which is located in the Champions of Hope secret pack. Utopia the Lightning basically has the effect where when it attacks, your opponent can't activate any card effects until the end of the damage step, and also it allows itself to detach 2 materials in order to increase its attack to 5,000, just as long as it has a Utopia Xyz monster as one of its materials, which it should always have, because you can just bring this card out on top of Utopia rather than going through its normal summoning procedure. So any 2 level 4 monsters can turn into Utopia the Lightning, and it allows you to beat over pretty much any boss monster in the game. This same pack also has Utopia Double, which turns any 2 level 4 monsters into a 10,000 attack beat stick, as long as you play double or nothing in your main deck to search it out. The pack also contains number F0 Utopic Future, and number S0 Utopic Draco Future, which allows you to turn any 2 non-number Xyz monsters into Draco Future, which has a once per turn monster negate that allows you to steal the monster you negate the effect of, is also just passively immune to destruction by battle and card effects, and is a really good boss monster to just end on. So this pack gives you access to 4 good cards that are just a little bit more generic to use than the previous spots on this list. In that, there's also the fact that it also just gives you Utopia as well. But Utopia can be obtained pretty easily from just the structure deck, so getting extra copies of it in this pack could be seen as just a bonus if you needed them. And at number 3, we have the Borrelsword Dragon, who's available from the Shot Through Fiction secret pack. Borrelsword Dragon is one of the best Link 4 monsters in the game, because it essentially gives any deck the capability to OTK your opponent with massive amounts of battle damage, thanks to its ability to attack twice and also increase its own attack while doing so. And in the same pack that has Borrelsword Dragon, there's also Borrelode Dragon and Borrelode Savage Dragon. Borrelode Dragon is also another really good rank 4 monster, which allows you to steal your opponent's cards. But Borrelode Savage Dragon is like the boss monster of level 8 synchros. If you have a deck that has the availability to go into a level 8 synchro monster, chances are you're going to play Borrelode Savage Dragon because of the negate it provides. And I even included that card in my list of the top 10 best synchro monsters of all time. And Borrelsword Dragon was just on my list of some of the best cards of all time, period. So this pack obviously has some pretty good cards in it. And I'm not 100% convinced that the number 2 spot is better than being able to get access to these 3 Borrel cards. And at number 2, we have Solemn Judgment, available from the Guardians of the Sacred Sky pack. Solemn Judgment is one of the best trap cards in the game, because it allows you to pay half your life points to stop one of pretty much anything. Where if your opponent would summon a monster, or activate the effect of a spell or trap card, you can pay half your life points in order to stop it. And since it's a counter trap card, it gets around a lot of boss monster negates like Borrelsword Savage Dragon, since they're not fast enough to respawn. And Solemn Judgment is a very heavily played counter trap card, and is usually the only way control decks are able to stop a Harpy's Feather Duster from completely destroying their entire back row. And in the same pack that has Solemn Judgment, there's also Solemn Strike in the yugioh rarity, which is a counter trap card that allows you to pay 1500 life points to either negate the special summon of a monster and destroy it, or negate a monster effect and destroy the card. And being able to negate and destroy a monster effect for only 1500 life points on a counter trap card, which I might remind you can't be negated by most monster effects, is really good. And Solemn Strike sometimes sees more play than Solemn Judgment depending on how the meta is going. And additionally, in the SR rarity in the pack, there's also Solemn Warning, which allows you to pay 2000 life points in order to negate the effect of a card which might summon a monster in order to destroy that card. Solemn Warning isn't really as good as both Solemn Judgment and Solemn Strike, but it is also a really good staple card nonetheless, and only really doesn't see as much play as it did in the past because both Solemn Strike and Solemn Judgment are unlimited at 3 copies. So this pack gives you access to 3 really powerful trap cards, whereas the previous spots give you access to 3 really powerful extra deck monsters. And the only reason I have this pack a little bit higher on this list than the one with the Borrelsword cards is because Solemn Judgment is good in pretty much any deck, and is more usable in more casual decks than some of the Borrelsword cards. But like I said in the previous segment, I'm not 100% convinced it is a better pack than the previous, so I would say both of these are super good with a whole bunch of really good cards, with only the next pack definitely beating them both out in total usability as staples. And at number 1, we have Knightmare Unicorn from the Cosmic Mechanical Entities pack. Knightmare Unicorn, as I mentioned in the IP Masquerena segment, is a generic Link 3 monster that allows you to discard 1 card in order to return 1 card in the field back to the deck on its summon, and is basically one of the best forms of removal in the game currently because it gives any deck the availability of spinning 1 card in the field if they're able to get 3 links worth of materials on the field with different names. And this pack also includes the SR cards, Knightmare Phoenix, which is one of the most played Link monsters in the game, and Knightmare Cerberus, which allows you to destroy cards in the main monster zone that were special summoned. And because this pack contains both Knightmare Unicorn and Knightmare Phoenix, 2 of the most played Link monsters in the game, which will probably be in the extra deck of every deck you make, I thought it was a no-brainer to put this as the number 1 spot on the list. Now, if you want absolute value from your pack, the pack which will give you the premium amount of staples for the cards total, then the Utopia or Borrelsword packs technically have more cards in the higher rarities. And the IP Masquerena pack has some really good broken cards in the high rarities, even if they aren't as generically staple as something like Knightmare Phoenix and Unicorn. So I definitely say the top 6 spots are all very good, with the top 3 being chock full of cards that will probably be more usable in more decks, with definitely the top 1, Knightmare Unicorn and Knightmare Phoenix, being an excellent addition to pretty much any deck, unless you just straight up don't ever use your extra deck. Alright, and that's the list. There are a couple of other staples available in secret packs, but for the most part there aren't going to be any that have a whole bunch of different kinds of staples, like the ones I mentioned on this list. So, if you have any ideas for future videos just like this one, I'd love to hear about them down in the comment, as this unique idea was a suggestion from a previous video.